What's up, guys? I decided to make a little video about grinders. In 19 years of welding, I had a chance to try a lot of grinders, and I'm gonna tell you which one I prefer, some that I tried, some that I remember, and because there's a lot of debate about which one is the best grinder, and I think it can come up to a personal taste at the end of the day, but there's also like performance. So I'm gonna review some stuff about grinders because I have a welding business, I have a mobile unit. So in the truck I keep some grinders, and in the shop there's some grinder that never leave the shop because I like them here too much. For example, this little guy, battery power, rigid. I'm not a big fan of rigid in general, but the reason why I own some is because there are lifetime guarantee. So I have a bunch of batteries with other tools. I broke 2 drill in the past, and I have an impact, I have a shop vac. There's a bunch of rigid tools that I have because they also replace the tool when they say their guarantee cover the normal wear of the tool, which is phenomenal. I don't know how they can not go bankrupt. If a company would start buying a bunch of rigid and replace them every time they break, I don't know how they would survive, but they do honor their guarantee. I've done it twice with the drill, and I torture that drill using it to drill in the ice for ice fishing. I have an 8-inch auger. It's extremely brutal. I should have like a 3.5 or a 4-inch auger, but I'm using what I have. And actually I have it right here. It's this guy. And I made this on the drill. There's a bearing in it and an hexagonal end, so that the entire weight of the thing is not on the drill itself. And like this, if I keep my hand on this, I'm never gonna lose the auger, because there's a bunch of video on YouTube guys losing their tool in the lake. It's not gonna happen to me. So anyway, to go back to the grinders, this guy never leaves the truck. It's extremely handy when I have a small grinding job. I kind of like it. You cannot push on it too much because the red light here come on and it will stop you from burning the motor. That's a problem with every battery power grinder that I tried. There is one though that I absolutely like. It's the DeWalt DCG418X2. This is a 6-inch, they say 4.5 to 6-inch grinder. So I guess you just change the guard, or maybe they provide you with a different guard if you want to use a 6-inch disc. But this is as close as a quarter grinder as you can get. They say it's only 970 watts, which is not a lot for a grinder when you compare it with, let's say, this guy here, which is 1500. That's like not as much. But their technology, battery technology with the big 9 amp hour battery, it kind of provide a lot of energy for a short burst of time, which allow you to perform extremely difficult tasks with the grinder, and it doesn't stall. This is very impressive. I don't have it in front of me here, but somebody borrowed it, but I do own one. Also, this big grinder, normally it's the one that I use for a torture job. Like, it's a sacrificial grinder. The fact that it's lifetime guarantee, I don't have to worry about taking good care of it. And it's not only that, it's powerful too. Like, I've used some 7-inch grinding disc, 1/4 inch, to remove heavy metal when I'm cutting, or when I'm grinding some heavy excavator. When I remove the wear plate, sometimes I have a little bit after gouging of weld remaining, I use this guy. This is a pretty good grinder. There's a couple features that I hate, like there's a button here that you can turn the handle. I don't know why a guy would need to do that, but they put it on. Not only this, there is a hole also for the handle there, which is kind of nice. Sometimes I hold the grinder like this. If I'm just, because those 7-inch grinders are heavy, sometimes I just rest my hand on the grinder, especially when I go on the edge of something. I can just have it like with the handle on, and I just hold the grinder like this, and it's pretty comfortable. I don't mind this grinder, it's not bad, but it's not my favorite 7-inch. After that, there's the metabos. A lot of guys are saying, because I see that like on Facebook groups all the time, I want to buy a grinder, which one you recommend? And a lot of guys are metabo, but they make 50 different models. So it's hard to find which one you like, and there's so many kind. Like, for example, this one here, I purchased only for the fact that it's variable speed, and it was fairly cheap. I think it was around like 200 bucks. And I used it for a specific job. I had to do a polishing job on stainless, and the consumable I purchased for that were only low speed. And with the, I can reduce the speed up down to 3,500 RPM. So this was perfect for the job. And I try to take care of it, because I'm not sure if those electronic parts that allow you that little potentiometer, if it will last a long time. But I have like other grinders for specific tasks, for more hardcore stuff. So these two little guys here. Oh, before, while I was doing some metabos, there's different metabos that I tried. They were very expensive metabos too. These guys here cost around $400. I mean, they are, to me, it's overpriced, but I understand some of the safety features that some company will purchase those grinders to justify the safety features. I understand that. But for me, I worked for a big company with a lot of money, and we did purchase. They asked us for a $30 million job. The purse is open. Grab the money, buy some tool. What do you want? So we decide to purchase the most expensive grinder money can buy, and we found those metabos. They were good reviews. They seems to be good. They were all in 6-inch. So we purchased like 2 or 3 of each, and we put them to test. We worked in northern Alberta welding pipe. Up there can go down to -20, -30 quite often in the winter. And this is what kills those grinders. So I have different model here. The first one is the 603632420. It's a 6-inch. It's a big body grinder, something similar as this guy here. And 12 amp motor, 10,000 RPM. Not bad. It lasts quite some time. A lot of big grinding job. But all of those grinders had one flaws in my review of what we tested. At each end of the armature in those motor, you have some kind of a little zigzag of, it looked like some kind of acrylic glue. I'm not sure what it is, but it's some kind of insulating material. It's there for a reason. It got like a glassy type finish. When you grind in very cold weather, the grinder warm up, and that glue came off, and it was green. And I remember seeing like at the end of the grinder some piece flying out, like it was shooting, and I could see it like on my sleeve and like everywhere around me. There was something coming off the inside of the internals. And I'm talking about like a big grinding job. Like we were grinding, like putting bevels by hand on like 24-inch pipe. Some place where there were no like cold those ring you put there to use the oxyacetylene cutter. So it does kill the grinder. Like those pieces fly off, and I had if I remember correctly, the first and the third one are paddle switch, and only the middle one, which is the one I preferred, it looks similar as this guy here. They call it RT model, like rat tail with a smaller handle. This is the type of grinders that I prefer, especially when they're 5-inch and bigger. Like on the small 4.5, like those grinders are so small you can use them with one hand, and they are very easy to manipulate with one hand. So I don't mind like the big body. But on a 5-inch, when you have like a big body, I don't have that small of a hand, but like I just feel a lot more comfortable when I have to hold it like for a half hour like this than just having my hand just like wrapped around the body. But that's a choice. So that being said, these 3 model were 6-inch, and these 2 last were 14.5 amp. That's like a lot of power for a grinder. When you think that a lot of those circuit breaker are 15 amp, you're so close to trip the breaker. So they kind of put the bigger motor you can get inside those grinders. The last one here is super expensive. I have a bunch of safety features. They add like a slow start. There is some kind of mechanism in the head somewhere where there's some oil and some kind of little balls that absorb the vibration. It's the smoothest grinder I ever used in my life. And a lot of guys that used them agreed that, like pipe fitters, that they bevel pipe and they do quite a bit of grinding. They said, this is phenomenal how the grinder, it's heavy, that it come with a price. Like more stuff you had, more weight you had. But like the grinder was pretty good for that. No low vibration. So that's what I didn't like about those grinders. They last like 6 months and they're all died. And after that, like the big boss came to talk to us and ask us about those new grinders. Like, oh, they're all garbage. They're all gone already. Like, oh, and they couldn't believe it. But we told them that those internal like plastic type sealant on the armature of the motor fly off. And I remember on a paddle switch one, not one like this. I don't have a paddle switch grinder, but one when you got like that big trigger you can push with multiple fingers. a piece of that insulation came underneath and I could not press the trigger anymore, and it really pissed me off. The paddle was blocked. I had to take it apart, and I found one piece that was literally jammed in a place where no matter how I would move the grinder, it will not come out. Plus, I found a bunch of other pieces, and this is when I saw on the armature that there was some of this shit missing, and it was just flying away. And in the shop, it never happened. Like I said, it's when the grinders spend like the night in the truck. It's like -30 outside. Grinder is solid frozen. The grease inside the head is like thick, like frozen butter. And now you're turning it on and you're pushing on it, and like for 20 minutes. And when you need a break, you drop the grinder, your buddy take the grinder, and they kept going. And the grinder just keep going for hours, like for 2 hours grinding. And I don't know if you guys have tried these discs. This is retarded. If you need to do some heavy metal removal, they are Cubitron. I think the grit on those is 36. Nothing, and I said nothing, remove metal faster than this. Like, everybody's used to a good old 1/4 inch disc. And I mean, these guys are cheap. These are $1. I have a bunch of Walter that I paid like $5 or $6 that are good. They last like, I can probably use 4 like this instead of the other one. But when I do small job and like when I first start, I think I bought like 4 box of, I think they are 40 disc. I use a ton of these. They're not bad. The fact that they are like 80 cents when you buy a box, I don't mind them. Their zip discs are even better. They're made in Germany. I never saw that brand before, and I never used cheap zip disc in the past because I've seen people like hurting themselves really bad with zip disc. Especially one of my fitter cut a bunch of tendons, and I will remember this for the rest of my life. I weld the pipe. There was still blood on that pipe. And I made joke when they asked me after how it went. I'm like, I made porosity with all that shit blood all over the pipe. And it was like a bad joke. But still, I remember I was like welding that pipe and I could see all over it like the blood splashed. It was not a pretty sight. Anyway, those discs, excellent. Pretty good. I like them. Good luck finding them. It's a store in my area in Quebec where they sell them. But I'm sure Pegatech, Germany, I'm sure like you might find them in your area. But to go back to these discs, to remove heavy metal, you can put, and a friend of mine, Ivan, I salute him, he did a grinding video contest against a foreman, which was old school welder. And he's like, it's impossible to put on a skid 80 pipe, I think it was like a 24 inch, cut and bevel faster entirely with a grinder. So that means doing the cut with a zip disc and then beveling it with this. When the other guy's like, I'm gonna do the entire job with the oxyacetylene beveler, and then put a quick cleanup and a land on it. And I was the welder, I was gonna weld the pipe, so they asked me to be the judge of that, to see if this technology would beat the old school band beveler machine. And they really finished like within like 5 seconds to each other. And then it was a question of precision, so I had to use the square and compare. Because they were racing, it was fucked, like it was all over the place, but it was weldable. But the fact that these discs exist and can remove such amount of metal in so little time are crazy. If you never try these, I'm telling you, this is unbelievable. 3M Cubitron. Walter makes one. I can't remember the name they use, but I believe they are orange, just like their orange signature disc. These are flap disc. The name of these, I think they're called fiber disc. If you look at the name, it's fiber disc. This is what they are. It's a vulcanized fiber, some kind of a cardboard. You gotta be careful, and you use like a backing like this. They make it in all size. This is the wrong size, by the way. I just noticed. I will not use this. This is a 4.5. I think the 5 inches in my truck. But it's supposed to be to touch the entire disc. So anyway, to go back to the grinders, I was talking, I believe, about the Metabos. They are good. Like I said, I like them. I just cannot justify the $400 for a grinder. And I'm going to tell you about that why later. I'm going to talk about those Makitas. So for smaller grinders, these guys are doing things that the other grinder can't do. They're so small and lightweight. I use them with one hand all the time. Like, I know I'm not supposed to, and there's not even a handle on it. But like for small things, like on the corner of the table, they are great. A small wire wheel, like it's so light. And they are 6 amp motor, which is not bad. A lot of those 4.5 small grinder are only 4 or 5 amp. These ones have 6, so they are not bad, and they are pretty old. They're over 10 years. I don't use them a lot because if I need to do a torture job, like I said, I take the big guy or this guy that I'm gonna try very soon here. After that, the Makitas. Oh, I just gotta talk about a Milwaukee because you're like, why don't I have any red? Like, this is not even a grinder. This is just a polishing tool. I just took it out of the toolbox, but the max speed on this guy is 3,500 RPM. It's a polishing tool, right? Like, there's not even a trigger. I mean, you turn it on and you just play with the speed here. But it does something that the other can't do by going extremely slow and still having good cooling. But there's the one Milwaukee that I really loved. I used it for 3 years, and it was like, I literally tortured it almost as much as this guy here, where you couldn't read anything on it. You don't even know which model it is because it's so old. And the Milwaukee, I did some chrome pipe, heavy wall, and the air around the pipe, the preheating on those chrome pipe was 400 Fahrenheit. And I mean, I think the pipe was like 1.25 inches. So for those who open the stove to put like some food in your kitchen, you know how it feels like when your head is too close and it's 400 Fahrenheit. Your hair almost like melt inside your face, like your eyelash, like it's so hot. But for those who did welding, chrome welding pipe before, you know what I'm talking about. It's hard on your knuckle. Everything is so super hot that it's hard on the grinder also. When you do the grinding, these are air cooled. I mean, they take the air surrounding the grinder and they push it through the casing and they exit in the front. But when the air is 400 Fahrenheit, I mean, like, you're making the grinder breathe like burning hot air. So you can't really grind for extended period of time. And I burned a bunch of DeWalt, I burned a bunch of Makitas, but the Milwaukee were just lasting. Like, they were really, and this is one of the only model they make with the rat tail, with something similar as this. All of the Milwaukee are fat body, which, like I said, I do not prefer. I don't find them as comfortable. But I really like, this is the model 612131A. This was my favorite Milwaukee. I would definitely rebuy one of these. But again, they only make them in 5-inch, not 6-inch, and 6-inch is my preferred size, especially for pipe welding when you gotta reach inside of a bevel. A lot of the time the 6-inch grinder is better. So for 6-inch, now like the Makitas are good. I really like this guy here, and I learned something not too long ago. This is model number 5010. This guy, you can replace the armature for about like $50. Yeah, like a lot of the time when the grinder toasts, when you see the magic smoke coming out of it, you throw it away. There's not, like, you're done, you fucked it. But this guy here, you can replace the entire armature for around $50. This is what I've been told when I purchase it. We'll see if I get there. I mean, it's a brush grinder, like all of the grinder that I owned. So sometime I've seen in the past when the brushes are worn out, the rest of the grinder is kind of dead too. I mean, you gotta get like loose. Some bearing might be old, like you might have crack in the casing. The guard has been spin so many times that the aluminum flange in the back of it is worn out, that no matter how tight you're gonna tighten the grinder, like you're always gonna get like a loose guard, which pissed me off. And anyway, like the 6-inch grinder, excellent. This guy here for a 6-inch, it's really not bad. The fact that it's cheap, I think I paid like $180 Canadian dollar. I did not shop because I had like a 6-inch DeWalt that died, and the same day I had to finish a job and nothing else. Then a 6-inch zip disc would have cut what I was trying to cut. So I had to buy a new grinder, and when I learned about the fact that it was repairable, I was quite impressed. But anyway, I only have 10% battery. I gotta finish this video. This is the ultimate of all time. This is the #1 champion grinder. I think Makita discontinued that model, but I'm not sure, but I believe they did. It's the number 9005B. This is a legend. For those who remember Makitas in the day, they all had orange trigger, but it was because it was always that grinder. I did not realize, but when I first started welding almost 20 years ago, every shop that I worked, even in trade school, this was the grinder that we used. When you get a grinder, you got that grinder. It was always that guy. And after that, Makita start making these guys, and they kind of changed the color. I don't know if you can compare. Like, these ones are more bluish green than these. And I used to call them the round body because I didn't know how they were. Like, these guys are kind of oval. They have like some flat. This is perfectly round, and it's quite heavy. But man, these guys are tough. Like, it's crazy robust. And I have a theory about this. All of the other 5-inch and 6-inch grinder are rotating at 11,000 RPM. This guy rotates at 12,000. And there's less amperage on the motor, so you would think the motor is weaker. But the fact that it's heavier, I don't know how the electrical motor works, but there's probably more like turn of all that copper wire around the armature. But there is a lot of torque too. I mean, this is phenomenal. And every time I had like a big grinding job, like I was telling you, when I was using like 15 of these discs in one day, they were going on that guy. Like this is like a phenomenal grinder. And it's also repairable. The trigger is pretty hard compared to the other ones. I mean, this is pretty smooth compared to this. It's kind of hard to hold after like 2 hours when your forearms are getting tired. Like, you feel like... But again, there is the trigger hold, which I'm not a big fan. It's kind of a safety feature sometimes, but it's also the second cord because I replaced the cord like once. This is a brush grinder again. Like you can see, I removed the cap more than once just to look if I need a third set of brushes because I already used the first set of brushes on. I think the brush is around $20. And I opened the head of this grinder twice, clean up the gear, add some new grease. And I wonder when the bearing is gonna give up because I mean I don't know how many RPM this thing had in its life, but it's extremely tough. Like I really abused of it. It's been set in the rain. It breathed a lot of dirty like dust. And one day my dad borrowed it to do a job, and he wanted to brush the entire garage floor. So he put like a big wire wheel on it, and he did the entire floor. We're talking about a few thousands of square foot. Like, I'm sure if you would have called Makita and asked him about this job, they would say, oh no, you need a big grinder. You need like take a 9-inch or something. You need something heavy duty. A 5-inch is not enough. But this little guy did it. It's crazy. It's so robust. And they still make it. And I believe I know it's more expensive than these ones. Even if it's like a 19 or 20 years old technology, if not more, there's still, I saw one in the Rona in my area, this exact number, 9005B. And orange trigger, it still exists. I think they're discontinued now, so I'm probably gonna go purchase it. But this guy, man, I love it. I love it. I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of beat up. There's quite a bit of vibration, but again, some vibration is not bad in my taste because it kind of micro-fractured the disc a little bit. If you use like a 1/4-inch disc like this, it kind of micro-fractured it, and it makes it more coarse. It's more abrasive. That I believe that's something I noticed. Like for example, the green brand, which is it? Not Metabo, no Ryobi, Itachi grinder, another expensive brand. They are so smooth that the grinder turns so smooth that the disc almost like became like glass, like it doesn't break. Almost need like to hit it a little bit while spinning on a corner or something just to try to keep going. Like if when you're grinding, you can see like the spark getting closer and closer and closer because the disc kind of melt instead of and burn, like create like that glass type finish instead of like keep fracturing. So anyway, that's something I like about the Makitas. Not only they are fairly affordable, but they are extremely robust, especially that guy, the 9005B. Like if you guys try to buy a grinder that's gonna last you a lifetime, I would go with this one. It's a really good grinder. There's probably some fine that I'm hearing, like those orange, I think it's Sweden or Germany, fine. I know the oscillating tool made by Fine X, which is excellent. The grinder, I never tried their grinders, and I wish, because I'm hearing that they are comparable to the Metabo. And again, I did not talk about the Walters because I believe Walter used Metabo's grinders. If you look at them, the difference is the color, but the casing, the body, everything is the same. And like I said, paying $400 for a grinder to me, when this guy lasts like I mean, 20 years for a grinder. Look at this. It's crazy, and I've been using this every week. There's paint on. I don't remember where it came from. There's some orange paint and blue paint, and I mean, it's tough. It's extremely tough grinder. So go get it if you can. If not, any Makitas. The fact that they are not all repairable, but some of them are, strongly recommend. They're good. But again, at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. So you have to try them and give yourself some time to experiment and see what you like. But with Makita, you're never going to be disappointed. So that's all I have to say about this. Have a good day and work safe.